continuing with our retro deck profile series, we have Fire Princess Burn. The year is 2003. The list in question is May 2003. The most recent set is Labyrinth of Nightmare, which is a set that Fire Princess debuted in. So now, enter Fire Princess Burn, which this may be the first iteration of burn decks into Yu-Gi-Oh! Crazy to think that. Now let's see the deck list. First up, we have 3 copies of Fire Princess, 2 from LON and 1 from Legendary Collection Yugi's World. And this is the star player and the reason why this deck is called Fire Princess Burn. Every time you gain life points, she inflicts 500 points of damage, and that's a continuous effect. You gotta keep that in mind. It'll happen right after. So 3 copies of Fire Princess. Perfect card. Next, we're still in early Yu-Gi-Oh! And recruiters are still a thing. UFO Turtle, when it's destroyed, get out a Fire Princess or another copy of itself, depending on what you're facing. Versatile card, UFO Turtle. Similar to the recruiters, 3 copies of Nimble Momanga. Now this monster is pretty cool. When it's destroyed, it summons 2 copies of itself face down. But also, when it's destroyed, by battle, you gain 1,000 life points. And if you have Fire Princess on the field, you're gonna gain 1,000 and burn for 5, and have 2 more for the follow-up. Works very well. Nimble Momanga, the Flying Squirrel. Now here's the obscure card of the deck. 3 copies of Marie the Fallen. Lin 1, now known as Dark Lord Marie. Now this card, whenever it's in the graveyard, you gain 200 life points during the standby phase. And if you have all 3 in the graveyard, they will stack, so that's 600. And you're starting to see where this is going. Just picture that. Marie the Fallen. 1. Dark Lord Marie. I once pulled the original rare from Labyrinth of Nightmare. I don't know what to do with it. Another card that came out in that set is Cure Mermaid. Now this one is just a one-of. During the standby phase, you'll gain 800 life points. It's more of a supplementary piece. Once you have your princess on board, the mermaid will help her out. And maybe they'll release the lost art version of this, so we can max rarity this deck. Maybe. One of, again, Cyber Jar. Cyber Jar floods the field, gets rid of monsters. This card is busted. In early Yu-Gi-Oh! And modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Flip effect or not, who knows. And then 2 copies of the one and only Sangin Witch of the Black Forest. Before they were errata. Perfect. Searches everything in the deck. That rounds out the monsters. Now onto the spells. 1 Painful Choice. Now this card will never come back in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! You pick 5 monsters from your deck. Your opponent picks 1. The rest go to the graveyard. Just think about the combination you'll do in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But in this deck, what you want to do, or ideally want to set up, is you'll reveal 3 Dark Lord Maries and 2 Fire Princess. So now what does your opponent give you? Do they give you the main player? But more than likely you'll get a level 5 monster, which seems kind of useless, but the deck will definitely take advantage of that. Painful Choice sets it up. And since your Fire Princess are in the graveyard, Premature Burial and Monster Reborn are perfect to bring her back. Next, we're going to use Board Wipes, Raigeki, Dark Hole, and last but not least, when was the last time you saw this? Tribute to the Doomed. It takes a discard to pop a monster, and that's perfect, because if they give us Dark Lord Marie, just send her away, set it up. Next, 2 copies of Graceful Charity. Hard to believe that at one point this card was semi-limited. I guess the golden days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Not really. A lot of crazy stuff was out there. Pot of Greed, draw 2, and then card destruction to get a new hand. Essentially our draw power. Next, the stall cards. 3 copies of Messenger of Peace. And 1 Swords of Revealing Light. Now, Messenger of Peace, any monster above 1500 cannot declare an attack. And the maintenance cost, you have to pay 100 life points. Like, what is that? 100 life points? That's nothing. And then Swords of Revealing Light. That's just an iconic Yu-Gi-Oh card, and back in the early days, it was a power of swords somehow. And then to destroy back row, 1 Heavy Storm. Rounds out the deck. Spells. Onto the traps. We got 2 copies of Solemn Wishes. This card is pretty cool. Every time you draw a card, you gain 500 life points. But if you draw multiple cards, you're still just gaining 500. Keep that in mind. It doesn't work like that. So combo it with Fire Princess. You draw cards, burn for 500. You kind of see where this deck goes. It's literally a burn deck revolving around the princess. And then to add to the stall, we got Gravity Bind. This card is annoying. Level 4 or higher monsters cannot attack. Like, you just sit on it. We got 2 Gravity Binds. Yeah, they're not getting through. Then some 1-ofs. Mirror Force for defense. Magic Cylinder, which also came out in Labyrinth of Nightmare. I pulled this Magic Cylinder back in the day, so I'm putting it to use now for defensive traps. Ceasefire to counter some flip effects. Call of the Haunted to bring back Fire Princess and any monster we need to get back on board. And the last spell, Imperial Order. Now this card, back then, it wasn't errata. You paid 700 during your standby phase, and you were able to turn it off whenever you wanted. So you want your spells, turn it off. Leave it on board, floodgate the spells. Floodgate, that term didn't even exist back then, or people didn't use it. Imperial Order. And that's the deck, Fire Princess 2003. Now, I guess I'll do a test hand and see what I can come up with or showcase, but it's going to be hard. I'm just going to see if I can get a good starting hand, the Fire Princess. Let's go. Now on to the test hand portion. I'm going to shuffle this deck. Keep in mind this is a burn deck, so it's going to be very dependent on the pieces for early Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's just hope that I can show you guys an ideal turn 1 setup. Let's see what we can show off. Now, back in 2003, I was not playing like this. I didn't even know what to do with this in this game. I just watched the anime and bought cards because I like this show. Now, let's see. I'm pretty sure most of us did the same thing. Swords of Revealing Light, Solemn Wishes, UFO Turtle, Witch of the Black Forest, Premature Burial, and you did draw back then going first, so 5-card hand to 6. This hand's pretty good. We have our UFO Turtle, so we're going to begin by setting our turtle. Set the turtle. Set Solemn Wishes, and we can set Gravity Bind while we're at it. So ideally, this is the scenario. The opponent would summon a monster, and they'll attack you. UFO Turtle, Recruiter, effect activates since it was destroyed by battle. We get to summon a fire monster with 1,500 less attack points from the deck. And our target is obviously going to be the Fire Princess. So Fire Princess is summoned. There she is in all her glory. Then they'll probably set their back row past turn. Right, and at the end phase, we're going to activate Solemn Wishes. So now we have our generic combo. My turn comes around, I draw a card, gain 500 life points, and I drew Nimble Among Us. This is perfect. I gain 500 life points, and she burns for 500. Bam. 500 down. Normal summon Nimble Mamanga. And then we ram our Nimble into their monster. Ram it, it dies. I gain 1,000. They'll take 500, and then Nimble Mamanga will activate since it was destroyed by battle. And that will summon 2 copies of Nimble from the deck face down. So we set them. The Nimbles have been set. We have the same battle trick for the next battle phase once my turn comes back. This is my hand, so I got a Swords of Revealing Light, Premature Burial, Witch of the Black Forest, and I have Gravity Bind face down. So I end my turn, they go, we try to break the combo, nope, Gravity Bind. The only card that I can think of that will stop this combo, is Jinzo. Jinzo wrecks this. So if they tribute that monster for Jinzo, it's over. But you see the point. You see the idea. It's just to stall them. You gain life, burn for 500. Trying to use every card back in the day that gained you life points and held the opponent back. That concludes Fire Princess 2003. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile plus the other deck profiles in our retro deck profile series. We 100% will bring more decks, or it's better to put them together. We are hard at work putting decks together. You want to see a deck, leave a comment. If we have all the cards, we'll showcase it. We're trying to do a history of Yu-Gi-Oh! In a deck profile fashion. So hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment on this video, subscribe, share it with anybody that likes old school content. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next retro deck profile.